The Daily Bases, live right here on this Tuesday for a full Major League Baseball slate with our guy, Craig Mish, our MLB new insider here on the SportsGrid Network, the host of Newswire, starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Craig, we appreciate you being here on this Tuesday, and in your honor, on a Monday, we went game by game for Donnie's Eagles record prediction for 2024. You were the inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, we get a lot of awards here at SportsGrid, but that segment yesterday, that you did may have been, right at the top potential for some more awards. And that doesn't even include the last segment that you guys just did for people who are watching the last 15 minutes. I mean, I wasn't even sure that was on the air. I was like waiting to come on the air here. I'm like, wait a second, are they actually on the air here? Yeah, but as it turns out, you were. So I hope we nominate that segment as well to get another award here at SportsGrid as we just continue to pile them up.
Listen, if yesterday's record prediction segment did not win an award, the opening segment of this third hour, wind rustling in the background to echo what we were talking about inside the friendly confines, certainly backed it up.
It wasn't wind. It was me. It was me.
I know.
It was me. Yes. I had a scissor. I was cutting something.
Live from South Beach.
What were you cutting?
Craig Mish.
I caught some cardboard. I was cutting some cardboard here. I get these boxes. What happens is you order from, Amazon and all these other places. And then, you can't – I have a, recycle bin here in Florida. You put the recycle bin out. I don't know how it works in New York. And, Donnie's sleeping usually, so it doesn't matter.
Just goes in the street in New York.
You put those in the box, but they don't all fit. So you got to, cut up the boxes. And today is the recycling day.
Gotcha.
And so I forgot to do it. And, look, I'm a man of the people and a man of the scissors.
But Craig, you got to tell the people that you've been studying each and every MLB recap from yesterday to get ready for this full slate on a Tuesday. Yeah. Actually, you probably don't even need to study, just ingrained knowledge in your mind. Yesterday, Craig, the Yankees were the hottest team in Major League Baseball. 7 consecutive wins, but that win streak was snapped last night as they were looking for 8 straight because of an uncharacteristic performance out of Clay Holmes. Today, once again, up in the Bronx, it's the Yankees and the Mariners. Does a new streak begin as the Yanks are a -162 favorite at home?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very possible. I will say that on the flip side, I do, guys, wonder what this does for Seattle. I know we don't talk about them a lot here, but I kind of lumped Seattle and Toronto in the same category to start the season, which was if all went right, it could be a postseason team and maybe go deep. And if all went wrong, you could be on the flip side of that. Now, all has gone wrong for Toronto. They were, one of those teams maybe middling around the wild card last year. You thought maybe they had a chance. I think that's done. Seattle, because of the pitching they have, and you wonder what a win last night, beating the Yankees, what that can do for the psyche of a team. Can that propel them a little bit? Because that division is going to be formidable. Houston, as we'll talk about, seemingly is turning it around. Texas, we know, is going to be there in the end. They're going to get some guys back from injury, too. So I guess what I would say is I'm more curious to see where the Mariners head right now, because the Yankees are obviously playing good baseball through the first 2 months of the season.
Yeah, just to bring up the Houston Astros quickly with you, Craig, the one thing that nobody's running away with the West, which keeps the Houston Astros right in the mix, but that was a big win by the Mariners and also the Texas Rangers due to tangle with the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll see where they wind up. But if we are taking a look at the Yankees themselves, Aaron Judge heating up, same thing as the weather, another 2 base hits yesterday, hitting over 270. And since May 5th, how about this, a 438 average, 7 home runs and 13 RBI. The big man is back, Craig, in the middle of that lineup.
Yeah, and on FanDuel, if you want to bet to win the MVP, you got to take a Yankee pretty much at this point, because both Soto and Judge are right there at the top. And so, look, there's some narratives that sometimes these guys split the vote and then somebody else will win. And so maybe you should take Witt or Henderson or someone else. But no, I think, look, the season that Judge has had has predominantly been the last, 3 weeks, Donnie? And the season that Soto has had has been from day one, getting in the Yankees uniform. So my estimation would be if Soto continues to do this, that he would win the award. I guess you would leave a light on for Witt because of the season he's having. It's going to be fantastic, tougher market. But look, if Houston does come all the way back to win the division or something insane like that, guys, Kyle Tucker has 15 home runs.
Yeah.
I mean, is this the most understated player right now in baseball? Potentially so, who's going to be due a huge contract coming up too. I don't know how Houston's going to handle this thing. So I think the odds are fair. First 5 guys, my estimation would be one of those 5 probably wins the MVP.
Rather competitive, too, just about $5 separating the top 5 prices and players to win the AL MVP. Kyle Tucker, a late RBI yesterday as Houston tried to rally, but an implosion in the Bronx, an implosion in H-Town as well. A 7-run fifth inning for the Angels over Houston yesterday, including 3 home runs. The Astros lost as a greater than $2 favorite, but that's where Houston, with Christian Javier, finds themselves once again today on this Tuesday, Craig, against the Halos. Do you expect a Houston bounce back today against the Angels?
Yeah, I generally don't lay the 1.5 with a home team. I like to do that with the road team to ensure that extra at-bat. So probably more of a stay away or pair Houston with another team today. Ben, you and I have talked about the Angels a ton. They're going to lose either 100 or close to 100 games, and every once in a while they're going to win a game. I mean, that's what baseball is. But naturally, what you got to see is this Houston bullpen get itself right. I know Hader, a little bit better, but he's had a tough season. Bullpens are so hard to figure, guys, every year. At the end of the season, you look back at the postseason teams and you look at Philly or somebody and say, wow, that's the reason why they won. But then the next year, I mean, remember how bad Philadelphia's bullpen was for several years too, from year to year. You just don't know. Houston is having that trouble this year. They got to get that fixed if they want to go far.
So, Craig, when you look at Houston, what have you seen from the Astros in the last week or so? They've won 8 or 9 of their last 12 games. What have you seen out of Houston that maybe gives you some confidence that the Astros are starting to find it?
Yeah, look, I think their pitching isn't going to be as good as it was in the past. There's no Cole, there's no Greinke, Verlander is not the same, Framber Valdez is not the same, Urquidy is hurt, Garcia is hurt. I mean, there's a lot of that going on. They got the best pitcher was suspended for using some stuff. So for me, guys, it has got to be slugging their way like Texas did last year. Alex Bregman finally has seemed to figure it out, and he's a free agent at the end of the season. I'm a big fan of that player. If he continues to hit, along with Altuve and Tucker and Alvarez, it's formidable.
A lot more coming your way. Major League Baseball, and Craig, we'll see you on Newswire in just about 40 minutes. More on the early line up next. 11. That is the total for tonight at Wrigley Field between the Chicago Cubs and the Atlanta Braves. We fly around Major League Baseball on this full Tuesday slate here on the early line, where the Cubbies will be inside the friendly confines as the host of the Braves, and yet Chicago with Javier Assad, who has been sensational this year, is booked as an underdog. But we'll get to the side in a moment, DRS. The story is the total. The over-under is now 11 for tonight's game inside Wrigley.
Yeah, Wrigley can get crazy at times. And going back to my Philadelphia Phillies fandom, which I was just a little toddler at this point, 1979, the wind was blowing out in Wrigley. Did you know the Phillies and the Cubs ended up a 23-22 ball game there? Now, we saying it's going to get that high today? No, because the pitchers are actually very good today. Charlie Morton's on the mound. He's been great against right-handed pitching all season long, but he does struggle a little bit with left-handed bats, which is why we bring up Mike Tauchman and Cody Bellinger on that list. Now, here's the issue, if there is anyone today. Wind we usually like to blow and typically blows at Wrigley, it's straight in or straight out in center field. Today it's actually blowing out to left field, which means you probably want that right-handed batter to sort of pull that baseball up in the air, get in that jet stream. Not to say lefties can't do that, but right-handed batter is probably a little bit more advantageous. Seiya Suzuki, batting second in the lineup for the Cubs, 267 ISO power number against right-handed pitching this season, or should I say over the last 30 days, has been hitting very well. But as I just told you, Morton's susceptible to lefties, not to righties. Let's flip it over to the other side for the Atlanta Bats, who finally picked up a victory yesterday in the doubleheader against San Diego. Assad's going to be on the mound. He has been tremendous, Ben, against both lefty and righty batters. Take a look at the last 30 days, an 040 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 228, which is absolutely incredible. Now, granted, both of these pitchers coming in with some decent pedigree. These lineups really should be able to get after them, but it's one of those where, boy, I just wish it was more tomato cans on the mound as opposed to really good pitching today. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. RBI shots, as I told you, more like coming from the Cubs side of those first 4 guys in the lineup, but I'm not in love with this game. I just want to watch this because it might be 5-2, Ben, at the end of 3 innings. Like, man, you really should have taken that over.
Dinger Tuesday on this Tuesday on the FanDuel Sportsbook as well. Interleague intrigue. Almost the World Series matchup from a year ago, but the Phillies falling short in the NLCS to the Arizona Diamondbacks, the reigning World Series champs. The Rangers, a so-so start quite literally, and even 500 to begin this year. A day off for the Phils yesterday, now back at home, starting off a new series at the bank this week. Ranger Suarez on the bump for Philadelphia. They're booked as a heavy -172 home money line favorite with a total of 8.5. DRS, you know this well. The Phillies have not lost a series since early April, the second of their year against Cincinnati. Will that trend continue into the midweek set against Texas?
It probably will continue because the Phillies just keep on sending out good pitcher after good pitch here, and they're at home, and finally a day of rest after playing such a long streak of back-to-back games. So let's take a look at this one, which is kind of a shame. We just talked about the game in Wrigley. Winds blowing out, optimum conditions, but two good pitchers on the mound and not great matchups if you're just looking from pitcher to hitter. We're getting that same type of thing today, Ben, in Philadelphia. 80 degrees at first pitch with 9-mile-an-hour winds blowing out to right field. This should be perfect because that Phillies lineup loves to absolutely hammer the baseball at home. We take a look at John Gray, who's a right-handed pitcher. Look at his last 30 days, Ben. 127 batters he's faced, an .074 ISO, and a .251 weighted on base percentage. That stinks because why? We would have loved to pick on some Philadelphia Phillies bats. Same thing vice versa on that Rangers lineup that hasn't done all that well against left-handed pitching, maybe going up against the best pitcher in baseball in Ranger Suarez, who is damn near being unhittable for the season and the past 30 days. It's a shame to waste this environment in that ballpark to get wind blowing on 80 degrees and 8-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. That's a shame right here. So I am predicting an under, but you know I'm not betting that. This game could pop off, but it's a shame that these two pitchers really match up well.
8.5 is that total. The Phils have won 11 of their last 13 series. They have not lost in 13 consecutive series. They have split a couple of 4-game sets. Now we go to St. Louis. Yesterday, it was a gray day. Sonny Gray and the Cards win as a home money line favorite 6-3 over Baltimore. Today, it's the other Birds, the O's, as a road favorite under the arch.
Yeah, by the way, Lance Lynn comes into this game struggling this year against left-handed batters, 111 total in the season. It's a 180 ISO and a 359 weighted on base percentage. If we just take a look at a snapshot of the past 30 days, that's actually elevates to a 216 ISO and a 412 weighted on base percentage. So look no further than the first part of that lineup. Henderson and Rutschman, two really good shots at home runs today. And if we take a look at the temperatures here, boys, 84 degrees with 17-mile-an-hour winds blowing out. But it's to left field, but still a good hitting environment today.
Now that might be your spot on Dinger Tuesday.